My best friend Bill Jackson and I went to a golf tournament near Bloomsburg. There, we participated in a fundraiser for his alma mater's basketball team. We were met by two of his old fraternity buddies, and we managed to get through 18 holes, finishing 3 strokes under par. That was enough to take third place in the third tournament. I never understood how the scoring worked in these tournaments, but I knew enough to realize that we had done well among mediocrities. It was like coming in third in the dumbest class in school, except that we got a few packs of golf balls for our efforts. Bill and I were sipping a couple of beers before heading home when we struck up a conversation with 2 guys from Harrisburg. We discussed important topics, such as baseball and football, and then talked about what we did for a living. Both Bill and I were surprised to learn that one of the guys, Jack Andrews, was the executive director of Wegmans. Our wives worked for the company, but at the Scranton branch. Jack worked in Mechanicsburg. "You're both from northeastern Pennsylvania from Scranton, aren't you?" Jack asked. "A few weeks ago, I attended a company meeting in Syracuse and ran into a blonde bombshell from the Scranton branch. She was built like a brick outhouse." Bill looked at me and smiled. We both realized that he must have run into Bill's wife, Gwen, and she had made an impression on him. But that was true of every man who ever saw her. "Gwen is gorgeous." Bill turned to Jack. I was almost certain he was going to mention that Jack must have his eye on his wife before Jack said something inappropriate about Gwen. But it was too late. "She could suck the chrome off a bumper," Jack sneered. "Her breasts were really big and sensitive. I must have spent an hour just playing with her. I can't wait for our fall reunion in Harrisburg. She'll be there for 3 whole days." I was afraid Bill was going to smash this asshole's head in with a beer bottle, so I put my hand on his shoulder. I couldn't blame him for it, but as his friend, I had a responsibility to try to keep him out of jail. I felt Bill relax a little. "You're talking about a real whore, Jack. Did you happen to hear what that little slut's name was?" Bill asked quietly. "Did you hear her name? Damn, we all had to wear those stupid name tags all day. I remember her name very well because she stuck the sticker on her blouse right above her left breast," Jack continued. "I spent a lot of time looking at her badge during the meetings, and if I hadn't sat next to her, I probably would have slept through most of the day as usual. I'm going there for a chance to have some fun. That's why I go to these meetings, and management insists that I attend them to keep my job." "We have to go, Bill," I hurried my friend, hoping to get the hell out of there before things got even worse, if that was possible. "Does anyone here know Gwen Adams?" Jack asked, putting an end to my dreams of an uneventful escape. "That was her name. If you ever met her, you'd never forget her. If you ever get a chance to sleep with that bitch, do it." 2 minutes later, we were sitting in Bill's Toyota Corolla, heading east. For the first few minutes, I watched him drive carefully, afraid of getting into an accident. Bill seemed to be driving pretty well, although a little fast. Although, if I were in his place, I would probably have floored it, hoping to get as far away as possible before Jack came to. There was blood on Bill's knuckles, but not too much, considering the impression they had made on Jack's mouth. It was surprising that he hadn't broken his hand or cut his fingers to the bone on that asshole's teeth. I remembered seeing a tooth lying on the bar when I pulled Jack away from the sprawled body of that dumb bastard. I couldn't help but admire Bill's confidence, remembering the argument in the bar a few minutes earlier. Bill calmly told Jack that he must have confused this blonde with his mother. He even told Jack that he was a weak-minded bastard and that he was lying about Gwen. Naturally, Jack felt the need to defend his honor and punched Bill right in the chin. In his youth, this was one of Bill's favorite pastimes. Several times I saw him almost drooling until some guy beat him up first. Then Bill would grin and clean up his offender's face. Bill was the youngest of 4 sons and grew up fighting constantly. He had a jaw of steel and a crushing right uppercut, which Jack learned the hard way. It was nice to see that Bill was still in good shape, even after nearly 20 years of marriage. It took Bill just 1 punch to end the fight. I could see that Bill wasn't in the mood to talk, so I kept my mouth shut and watched the scene, thinking about the situation. We introduced ourselves as Tom Casey and Bill Kuntz. Jack even made the standard joke about Bill's last name, and we laughed politely as if we had never heard it before. Gwen had been working at Wegmans for a year when she met Bill. When they got married, Gwen told Bill she would keep her maiden name for work. She told Bill it would be easier than changing all her information in the system, and she wouldn't have to listen to a lot of tasteless jokes about her last name and anatomy. At work, she was still called Gwen Adams. Gwen was a walking wet dream. She and Bill had been married for 19 years, had 2 children, and she still turned heads wherever she went. She was blonde, long-legged, and as Jack had already mentioned, had large breasts. Bill and I had been friends since school. That fact, along with my wife explaining to me in great detail how she would tear my manhood off with her bare hands if I ever strayed from the path of righteousness, kept me from trying to do anything more than admire Gwen. I never thought she would cheat on Bill. Obviously, it came as a complete surprise to him as well. Gwen and Bill introduced me to my future wife, Teresa, at their wedding. At the time, Teresa had just started working at Wegmans with Gwen. From the start, we seemed to get along well. The next year, Teresa and I got married. Now we had a son in 8th grade and a daughter in her 2nd year of high school. Teresa was pretty and had a nice figure, but Gwen was the one men lusted after. I tried to put myself in Bill's shoes to imagine how he felt. For some reason, I thought that knowing this would help ease his burden a little. He must have been suffering, and I didn't know how to react. I liked both Gwen and Bill, and I wanted them to be happy in their marriage, partly out of selfish reasons. We had done a lot together, and Gwen and Teresa had become closer over the years. I was very happy with the status quo and didn't want it to change. They were my best friends, and I always wanted them to be happy. It sucked. I knew I would be furious if Teresa betrayed me. I never gave in to the temptations that came my way from time to time. Teresa often told me how bad my life would be if I ever gave in. I never thought any woman was worth risking losing Teresa. I was sure she felt the same way. We didn't have hot monkey sex every night, but we still enjoyed our love. Bill was just paying for having such a desirable wife. I knew that men were constantly hitting on Gwen. I saw plenty of examples of this, sometimes even when she was standing right next to Bill. Maybe it's a good thing that my Teresa's legs aren't as long as Gwen's, and that her breasts aren't as big, and her face isn't as young and striking. Teresa was my wife and the mother of our 2 children, and she looked just right. I would never suffer the pain Bill was feeling now as he drove us home. Home? Shit. What would he do when he got home? Should I go straight home and let him and Gwen sort things out? What if he was angry enough to hit Gwen? Should I stay to keep some semblance of order? Did I want to hear what would be said? Did I want to watch the possible demise of their marriage? Was it really that bad? I realized it would be a good idea to find out what Bill was thinking. I needed to talk to him. "Bill, talk to me, buddy," I began. "What are you thinking, and how are you going to behave toward Gwen when you get home? You know I couldn't let you do what you did to that jerk at the golf club. I need to know you can control your emotions." "I couldn't hit Gwen if she cut my heart out with a garden tool," Bill replied grimly, "although I feel like that's exactly what she did. I've thought it over and decided to pack some things and stay in a motel for a few days. I don't know if I can get through this, Tom. This is very important. I had no idea she could do something like this to me and to us. I've never cheated on her, and until today, I would have bet my life that she would never cheat on me. God, it hurts so much." "Can you forgive her somehow, Bill? I have no doubt that she loves you to death. Leaving will crush her, Bill, even if she did it. You know how guys always stick to her. That's one of the problems with marrying the most beautiful woman in this damn county." "Then how do you put up with it, Tom? How did you make Teresa happy and faithful? How do you keep those damn hounds away from her? She's stunningly beautiful, and you two seem to have it all, at least for now," Bill added. "Well, you have to admit that Teresa doesn't attract men the way Gwen does," I remarked. She's fine, of course, but she's not a walking wet dream like your wife. She just doesn't get hit on as often as Gwen does." "What the hell are you talking about?" Bill asked, looking at me as if I had two heads. "Teresa is a hot piece of ass. Any normal man would give his right arm to be in her bed. She has an incredible smile and seems to exude sex appeal. Even Gwen looks pretty pale next to Teresa." "Are you crazy? Gwen looks like a goddess. She's always so athletic and tanned, except for her unusually large breasts. Gwen is a real beauty," I said almost reverently. I suddenly realized that I hated this asshole Jack almost as much as I hated Bill. Maybe that's why I accidentally stepped on his crotch when I pulled Bill away from his sprawled body. "You must be blind or something, Tom. Teresa is incredible in every way. Gwen looks pretty good. I'll admit that, but you won the lottery when you picked up Teresa," Bill insisted. "And besides, she's not a damn cheater, and that's a real plus in my book." We fell silent again, pondering what we had just revealed to each other. Bill thought Teresa was prettier than Gwen. I struggled with that thought. Gwen was stunningly beautiful. I never thought Bill felt that way about my wife. But then again, I never told him how hot I thought Gwen was. We were still silent when Bill turned into his neighborhood. We both felt the tension and showed all the signs of it. Of course, Bill looked worse than I did, but my stomach was also in knots. I was afraid of the next few minutes. As we pulled into the driveway, we immediately noticed several cars. I had left mine there early in the morning when I left with Bill. Behind my car was a dark burgundy 1967 Pontiac Le Mans with a black convertible top. And behind that was my wife's car. "What the hell, Bill? Isn't that the 3-speed Pontiac you used to have? Who the hell does this beauty belong to?" I asked, getting out of the passenger door before Bill had completely stopped the car. "Probably some son of a bitch who's been messing around with Gwen while I'm out," Bill replied angrily, staring at the convertible. At that moment, the front door swung open, and Gwen and Teresa ran down the driveway with smiles as wide as the Pontiac's grill. Seeing Gwen, I returned to my business. She had no idea what trouble she was in. As soon as I thought about it, my attention shifted to Teresa, who was happily walking toward me. I took a good look at her and studied her features and figure. She really did look very good. Maybe Bill was right. She was in her early 40s, she had given me 2 children, and I realized that she was very, very beautiful. How could I have thought that Gwen was more attractive? When Teresa closed the distance between us, I had the urge to pull her into the back seat of that damn convertible and use it for its intended purpose. I pulled Teresa close to me while Gwen said hello to Bill. "Happy birthday, Bill," Gwen cooed, hugging Bill around the neck. "I've been looking for this car for your birthday, dear. I found it in Monticello a few weeks ago." When Gwen saw Bill's sour face and his frozen posture, she added, "You don't seem very happy about it, Bill." "You found it a few weeks ago?" "How many weeks ago, Gwen? Was that before or after that Friday and Saturday you spent in Syracuse at your damn job?" Bill asked. "Why are you acting like this, Bill?" Gwen asked. "It was that weekend. I want to tell you something. I didn't go to Syracuse. I went to Monticello to look at that car." Bill turned and looked at me. I couldn't help him, because I was just as confused as he was. What the hell was that jerk Jack talking about if Gwen wasn't even in Syracuse that weekend? It didn't make any sense. He described Gwen perfectly. "I had to mislead you so you wouldn't suspect anything, Bill," Gwen laughed. "I booked the ticket for this trip, but I never intended to go. I asked Teresa to take my place." I told her to tell Tom she was going to visit her sister in Allentown that weekend. I figured she could use my room and eat and drink on Wegmans' tab. All she had to do was wear my badge and pretend to be Gwen Adams. It was no big deal just asking a friend to help me give my wonderful husband a special surprise on his birthday. "You've never been to Syracuse?" Bill shouted, hugging Gwen and lifting her into the air. "God, I love you, Gwen. You're the best wife in the world. So it wasn't you, it was Teresa? Shit." I felt like I had been hit in the stomach with a sledgehammer. I broke out in a cold sweat and my whole body began to shake. I let go of Teresa and stumbled toward my car. Tears streamed down my cheeks. "Tom," Teresa called after me. "What happened? Why are you leaving? What the hell is going on?" I ignored her. As soon as I went to open the door of my car, my stomach decided to send my dinner flying. I fell to my knees and let it fly over Bill's well-manicured yard. Teresa was right there beside me, patting my shoulders and asking what was wrong. "I think I can fill you in, Teresa," Bill said gently. "Everything's out in the open now. Today at the golf tournament, we ran into Jack Andrews. He told us he works at Wegmans, that he attended a company meeting in Syracuse, and that he slept with a blonde bombshell with a name tag that said Gwen Adams. I left the bastard lying on the floor next to the bar. Tom even kicked him when he pulled me away from the jerk so I wouldn't kill him. All the way home, we thought it was Gwen who slept with that poor bastard, but it turns out that's not the case. It was you, Teresa, and I have to tell you that I'm disappointed in you, but Tom is devastated. Now you know, and I don't envy you one bit," Bill concluded. "Did you think that guy was talking about me, Bill? Did you think I was cheating on you? I have to get that damn car and get my money back. How could you even think I would do something like that? Have I ever given you any reason to think I was unfaithful to you?" Gwen demanded loudly. "Don't try to fool me," Bill replied. "You lied to me. You said you were at that company meeting in Syracuse, and this guy said he screwed a beautiful blonde with your name. We all know that you and Teresa are undoubtedly the most beautiful women at Wegmans, or anywhere else for that matter, and you're both blonde. I know for a fact that you're a wildcat in bed, so why should I doubt what he told us?" "Wow. You're right, Bill. Now I see why you made that wrong assumption. Do you really think Teresa and I look great together?" "I'm a wildcat?" Gwen asked. "I guess I should apologize to you for my little white lie and for being surprised that you jumped to conclusions." Now, I was trying to throw up my breakfast. I was overcome by dry heaves that seemed even more painful. I could hear Teresa crying as she rubbed my shoulders. The part of my brain that was still working thought about how blind I had been. Teresa really was a gorgeous and wonderful wife. I should have paid more attention to what she was doing and who she was doing it with. I should have loved that bitch even more. I realized that even though I was trying to put myself in Bill's shoes when he thought his wife was cheating on him, I had no idea how much it hurt him, not until now. "I don't know how to tell you the rest of the story," Gwen ventured, "so I think I'll let Teresa finish." "Tom, listen to me, honey. I'm sorry I lied to you, and I'm truly sorry for that, but I would never, ever cheat on you. I love you with all my heart," Teresa sobbed. Gwen didn't get to finish her story. I didn't go to Syracuse in her place. I turned down her offer. Instead, I went with her to Monticello to pick up Bill's car. Gwen convinced a new colleague, Jessica Walters, to take her place. She had just transferred from Buffalo after a terrible divorce. She's blonde, but I don't think she's as sexy as Gwen or me. My stomach immediately relaxed. I spat out all the bits I could find in my mouth and slowly got to my feet. Teresa stood next to me, wringing her hands and trying to smile through her tears. I had never seen her so beautiful and desirable. My breathing gradually slowed to normal as I wiped my eyes and mouth with the back of my hand. "I bought you that new set of Nike golf clubs you've been admiring all year, Tom. I was going to wait until your birthday next week to give them to you, but I'll try to earn some forgiveness here and now. They're in the trunk of my car. Would you like to see them, dear?" Teresa asked nervously. "They can wait a few minutes, Teresa," I replied calmly. "I must have eaten some bad seafood for dinner, but I'm feeling better now. I never thought that jerk Jack was talking about you. I know you too well to think that. I have no idea why Bill suggested it in the first place. My stomach is giving me some trouble and everyone is jumping to conclusions. It seems like there's too much going on for my poor stomach." "Yeah, right," Bill laughed. "You didn't eat fish for dinner, you jerk. It was a first-class rib and I ate the same thing you did. You didn't eat anything like that." "No?" I asked. Wasn't I standing right next to you when you almost threw up your guts at that bus stop? There was something inside us that didn't feel right. I would guess that the idea of staying married to a cheater is what doesn't feel right to either of you, Gwen laughed. Are you guys hungry since your stomachs are empty? Not me. It's almost dark. I'm going for a drive in my new car, topless, so to speak. Bill grinned. Anyone want to join me? I'd love to, Gwen laughed, quickly stepping through the door and plopping down in the passenger seat while Bill got behind the wheel. If you two aren't coming with us, we'll see you later, but you'll regret missing the first race, Gwen promised. I stood next to Teresa and watched as Bill shifted the gear lever in search of reverse, then slowly released the clutch. Gwen's shirt landed at our feet before Bill had made a move. Wow, look at Gwen, Teresa gasped. I'm looking, and I have to admit, Bill was right about both things. You really do have better breasts than Gwen, I confessed, as Teresa wrapped her arms around my neck and whispered in my ear. The back seat is empty and we've been invited. I screwed up again. I promised her I'd be at the opening of her art gallery exhibition. She's an artist, and this was her big moment. Her parents and all her friends were there. Everyone except me. I knew there was no way out of this situation, but I had to try. She was the love of my life, and I didn't want to live without her. I forgot that today was Valentine's Day. I forgot that today was her birthday. Last month, I worked overtime twice when we had a date, and I forgot to call her. Today, I showed up when her exhibition was already closing. She was already walking to her car when I ran up to her. Baby, I'm sorry, I wanted to be here, but... She didn't let me finish. Go to hell, Brady! Get out of my life! I don't need you! I hope you die! She yelled at me. I watched helplessly as she got into the car with her parents and drove away. I sat down on the curb and cried. This time, I really screwed up. Audrey fell in love with Brady at first sight. He came to a party one of her friends was throwing. Brady mingled with the other guests, and his natural charm immediately made him a welcome guest. He had only been there for 10 minutes when he noticed her. She was standing in the corner of the room, looking around as if trying to escape the unwanted attention of the guy standing in front of her. He wanted to meet her. Dave, to my right, in the corner. Who's that girl who looks like Audrey Hepburn? Brady asked his friend who had come to the party with him. That's Audrey, Dave smiled. No, man. Seriously, what's her name? I'm not kidding. Her name really is Audrey. But don't waste your time. She doesn't let guys hit on her. Brady didn't care. He just had to meet her. When he crossed the room, she looked at him with pleading eyes. Audrey wanted to get away from the guy who had cornered her. His pointless jokes were driving her crazy. She looked around for an excuse to leave, and then she saw Brady for the first time. He reminded her of a big cat stalking its prey, crossing the room with ease. She thought he was strikingly handsome, with his jet-black hair and blue eyes. She watched him, hoping he would come to her rescue. Audrey, I've been looking everywhere for you. We really need to discuss that issue we were talking about, Brady said as he approached her. Then he turned to the guy who had been harassing her. Sorry, buddy. We've got serious business to attend to. Brady took Audrey by the arm and led her to the backyard, leaving her tormentor standing there with his mouth open, watching them leave. Thanks for getting me out of there. By the way, do we know each other? Not yet. My name is Brady Ryan. Well, Brady Ryan, thanks again. He was driving me crazy. Glad to be of service to such a lovely lady. I'd better get going before I'm the next one you have to rescue. Wait, Brady. I usually know everyone at parties like this, but I've never seen you before. Where are you from? Texas. I came to the party with a friend, Dave. I think you know him. Dave, the former Marine. Dave, who served in the Special Forces. Suddenly, her eyes widened. Oh my God, you're Brady! You're the guy he always talks about, the one who saved their lives. Brady didn't like to talk about his military past. He did what he had to do in combat, but he preferred not to dwell on those days. Yeah, well, I believe Dave has a tendency to exaggerate. I wouldn't believe everything he says. A hero and a humble one. Brady wanted to change the subject. You know, you look a lot like... Yes, I know Audrey Hepburn, right? Actually, I was going to say you look like a girl I knew in school, but now that you mention it, I see a slight resemblance to the movie star. Audrey looked sharply at Brady and saw the sparkle in his eyes and the slight tremor at the corners of his mouth, and she realized he was teasing her. She laughed out loud, and the sound reminded Brady of silver bells and sent a shiver down his spine. They talked late into the night. Brady learned that Audrey was an artist who dreamed of great success. Audrey learned that Brady had just moved to the city and was working for a security agency. Audrey looked at her watch and saw that it was already 2 in the morning. Brady, it was really nice to meet you, and I'm glad we got to talk. But it's late, and I should get going. Brady looked at his watch. Wow, I can't believe it's so late. Can I walk you to your car? Sure, if you want. Brady saw Dave sitting on the couch as they walked through the house and raised his finger to indicate that he would be right back. When they reached the car, Brady held the door open for her as she got in. Audrey, I know we just met, but I'd like to ask you out to dinner. That's very sweet of you, but I'm focused on my career right now. Audrey saw the hope on Brady's face turn to disappointment. Okay, of course, I understand. Good night, Audrey, Brady said, nodding sadly. He carefully closed the door and turned to go back into the house. Audrey watched him go, made a quick decision, and rolled down her window. Brady, she called, meet me at Olive Garden on Friday night at 7:30. Brady's face lit up and he smiled broadly. Sounds great. I'll be there. It was their first date. Brady's charm and ease with her touched Audrey in a way no man ever had before. When she spoke, he listened intently to everything she said. Unlike most men she knew, he preferred to talk about her and what interested her rather than himself. Contrary to her rule of not going on dates, she accepted his invitation to go to the state fair the following weekend. They had a wonderful time at the fair. They rode many of the rides, and she held his hand tightly on the roller coaster. Brady won her a large stuffed panda at one of the shooting galleries. That date led to others, and Audrey finally admitted to herself that she was in love with this man. As for Brady, he knew after their second date that he wanted to be with her. In the Marines, Brady had learned patience. Know your goal, but don't rush to achieve it. He never pressured Audrey, but let things take their course. They dated for almost 5 months before they first made love. That night, they openly declared their love for each other. Brady made his first serious mistake on Valentine's Day. He had never told Audrey exactly what he did for a living, only that he was a security consultant. The agency he ran did conduct security audits and make recommendations, but it also provided security guards for high-profile clients who needed protection at special events. As a result, he often had to travel on business. This didn't bother Audrey too much, as it gave her time to focus on her paintings. As it happened, on Valentine's Day, he was completely absorbed in making sure that all the security guards he had been asked to provide for a large party were in place. He didn't realize this until he arrived to pick up Audrey for dinner and she handed him a card he had forgotten. Brady was completely shocked, and Audrey was a little hurt. He made up for it by sending her a dozen red roses the next day. A month later, a similar situation occurred, and this time he forgot to buy her a birthday present. To make up for it, he sent her 24 roses and bought her a beautiful bracelet with tennis stones. And last month, he was several hours late picking her up for a date. The problem wasn't so much that he was late, but that he didn't call to let her know he would be delayed. By this point, she was not only hurt by his thoughtlessness, but also a little angry. Then Audrey got the chance she had been waiting for. Her paintings were going to be exhibited at the most prestigious gallery in town. She was so excited she couldn't find the words. She told Brady how important it was to her, and he promised he would come. On the evening of the opening, Brady was driving home to change. He was going to meet Audrey at the gallery. In addition to the opening, he was going to meet Audrey's parents for the first time. They had flown in to attend this important event in their daughter's life. He was about to turn into the driveway when his cell phone rang. He looked at the number and saw that it was the head of security hired by his agency to guard a party at the mansion of a local millionaire. "Brady speaking," he answered. "Boss, things are bad. We've been discovered, and several armed men have taken hostages in one of the wings of the house." "Damn it." "Okay, I'm on my way. Block all exits and hold out until the SWAT team arrives." Brady was furious and anxious. The reputation of his entire agency was at stake. He also couldn't understand how armed men had managed to get past his people. They were all former Special Forces operatives and had undergone rigorous training. Brady arrived at the scene a few minutes before the SWAT team. He had just learned about the incident when a police captain approached him and asked what had happened. "My man who was in charge told us that for some reason the catering team had been neutralized on the way and replaced by criminals who were hiding in one of the wings of the house. Most of the guests were safe and had been evacuated from the premises. Some people were still missing. Among them were the owner of the house and his wife. They were presumed to be alive and being held hostage. No demands had been made yet, so their motives were unknown." He then told me where all our agents were. The captain ordered his men to take up positions, and we began to retreat to make room for them. Throughout this, Brady believed that these guys might have some kind of escape plan. Escape through the main gate was impossible. The only logical way out was through the backyard. Brady went to his car, put on a bulletproof vest and a jacket with "Agent" written in large letters on the back. He hoped the SWAT team wouldn't mistake him for a criminal. He checked his 9mm pistol and holstered it on his shoulder. Circling the perimeter, he found himself behind the house, on the opposite side from where the hostages were being held. Suddenly, all hell broke loose inside the house. The SWAT team came under fire, and smoke poured out of the center of the mansion. Brady drew his pistol and waited. He saw members of the Special Forces on the other side rush toward the shots. As expected, 2 men ran out of the side doors and headed almost directly toward where he was hiding in the bushes. One of the men was holding a little girl in his arms and covering her mouth with his other hand to keep her from screaming. The other man was armed with an automatic rifle. Brady pulled out his pistol and waited. He waited until they ran past him. Then he stood up and shouted at them to stop. The man with the machine gun turned around and started to raise his weapon. Brady fired once and hit him right in the forehead. At that distance, he couldn't miss. He turned to the man holding the girl. "Put her down carefully. Raise your hands, and you'll live." The villain looked at Brady, who was holding the gun right between his eyes, and then at his dead partner. "Okay, just don't shoot, buddy." The villain put the girl on her feet and slowly turned around. "Come here, sweetheart. You're safe now. I'll take you to your father." The girl ran to Brady and hugged his leg tightly. "Now you, very slowly, get down on the ground and put your hands behind your back." Brady kept his gun pointed at him the whole time. "Stay where you are, buddy." Brady took plastic handcuffs out of his pocket and quickly cuffed the criminal's hands. Then he roughly pulled him to his feet and pushed him back toward the house. Bending down, he picked up the girl, and she wrapped her little arms tightly around his neck. Slowly, they walked around the side of the house until one of the SWAT officers spotted them. They were ordered to stop. Brady carefully lowered his gun to the ground, then stood up with his hands raised, still holding the girl in his arms. The captain, who had been called on the radio, recognized Brady and approached them. Brady explained what had happened and told them where they could find the dead criminal. The man Brady had handcuffed was taken away. When the captain tried to take the girl from Brady, she screamed and clung even tighter to his neck. The officer just shook his head and led Brady out onto the street. The SWAT team was just finishing up at the scene. They had caught 2 of the kidnappers and killed 1. Fortunately, none of the guests had been hurt. The girl turned out to be the daughter of the millionaire who had thrown the party. He and his wife were in despair, not knowing where their daughter was. When they found out she was alive, they rushed to Brady. Only when her mother approached her did the girl let go of Brady and allow her mother to hug her. The SWAT team commander explained to the father how they had saved his daughter. He approached Brady, shook his hand, and thanked him profusely. Only then did Brady remember Audrey and the exhibition at the gallery. He took out his cell phone and tried to call her, but it went to voicemail. She probably hadn't even taken her phone with her. By the time Brady was allowed to leave, it was already late. He had to stay and give a statement and was told to report to the police station the next day. Brady rushed to the gallery as soon as he could. He spotted Audrey as she was leaving the gallery and heading for her car. He slammed on the brakes and jumped out of the car to catch up with her. Audrey was very upset. It was her big night. She had come to the gallery with her parents, who had flown in to be with her. The gallery was filling up with visitors and some of her close friends who had been invited. But there was no sign of the person she wanted to be with more than anything else. All evening and all night, she kept her eyes on him, looking for him. Finally, the exhibition ended, and Brady still wasn't there. This time, Audrey was really furious. She was determined that this was the last time he would let her down. She asked her father to drive her home while she finished talking to the gallery owner. Audrey walked to the car, tears streaming down her cheeks. She had almost reached the car door when she heard the screech of tires and saw Brady jump out of the car and run toward her. "Baby, I'm sorry. I wanted to be here, but—" he began. "Go to hell, Brady. Get out of my life. I don't need you. I hope you die," she shouted at him. She jumped into the car and told her father to drive away. Audrey sobbed, covering her face with her hands, and didn't look back to see Brady collapse on the side of the road and cry, too. Brady finally got back to his car and drove home. He knew there was no point in calling her that night. She clearly wasn't in the mood to talk to him. He went to bed and slept restlessly, tossing and turning all night. Early the next morning, he went to the police station and finished answering all the additional questions, giving his statement. It was already a little after noon when he finally left and drove to Audrey's apartment. Her car wasn't there, and no one answered when he knocked. He didn't know she had gone to the airport to pick up her parents. There was a flower shop nearby, and he bought a dozen red roses and a card. Returning to her house, he waited another hour. She still hadn't returned, so he took out a pen and wrote on the card, "My love, I'm sorry. Please call me and let me explain. I love you so much. Please, baby, call me. Brady." Audrey returned home a few minutes after Brady left. Upon entering the house, she discovered the flowers and the card. She quickly read what he had written, tore up the card, and threw it in the trash can along with the flowers. She ran to her room, threw herself on the bed, and cried into her pillow. She cried until she finally fell asleep. By 5 o'clock in the evening, Brady still hadn't heard from Audrey, so he decided to go back to her house. He saw her car parked outside and noticed that the flowers and card by the door were gone. He hurried to the house, knocked, and waited. No one answered. This time he knocked harder. Finally, he saw the curtains move and Audrey peeked out. "Baby, please let me in. I'll explain everything." Go away or I'll call the police. The curtains closed again. Audrey, for God's sake, talk to me. Brady kept knocking on the door, begging her to talk to him, until 15 minutes later, a police car pulled up. The police told him to get out and talk to them. He told them why he had come, and one of the officers who had been at the scene of the attempted kidnapping the day before recognized him as the hero who had saved the little girl. Although they sympathized with his situation, they told him that Audrey had filed a complaint and that he could either leave peacefully or they would be forced to arrest him. Deciding that caution was the best course of action in this case, Brady reluctantly got into his car and drove home. He spent the rest of the evening trying to call Audrey, but she didn't answer. The next 2 days were much the same for Brady. He bought her a dozen roses and a card, knocked on her door, left everything on the doorstep, and spent the rest of the day calling her. She didn't answer his calls. Brady was deeply depressed. His co-workers noticed and became concerned about their boss. He was just going through the motions at work, but he didn't care. Without Audrey in his life, nothing mattered. He didn't want to live without her tender love. Audrey didn't leave her apartment for 3 days after the exhibition. She didn't watch TV or read the newspaper. All she could do was cry. Every day, Brady knocked on her door and then left, leaving flowers and a card. She read each one, then tore it up and threw it in the trash along with the flowers. Her phone rang almost every hour, and when she saw that it was Brady, she walked away without answering. On the 4th day, she saw that one of her friends was calling and answered. Her friend Marcia wanted to meet her for lunch. Audrey, who hadn't left the house in 3 days, agreed to go. "So, how's Brady?" Marcia asked, unaware of the recent events in her friend's life. "How should I know? I told that jerk to go to hell when he didn't show up at the gallery. He always forgets something. My birthday, Valentine's Day, our dates. I'm tired of it." "But don't you know why he didn't come? My God, girl, it's all over the news." "What are you talking about?" Audrey asked. "Some men tried to kidnap a millionaire's daughter and Brady saved her. He killed one of them and caught the other." "What are you talking about?" "All I know is what the news said. Brady's company was responsible for security at a party the millionaire threw at his house. 5 armed men tried to kidnap the millionaire's daughter, and Brady killed 2 of them and saved her. One of them was armed with an automatic weapon and tried to kill Brady, but Brady shot him first." Audrey turned pale when she said that. "But Brady's just a security consultant." "Audrey, you really need to talk to your husband. All these guys are special forces. They work hard protecting the rich and famous." The woman sitting at the next table got up to leave. But first, she stopped at Audrey's table. "I'm sorry I overheard, but I want to tell you my story. I was married to a man who was very much like your Brady. He always forgot things like my birthday and our anniversary. It made me very angry. But he died in Iraq. Not a day goes by that I don't wish he were back with me. He could forget my birthday for the rest of my life, and I wouldn't care if I could just hold him again. If you love your man, go to him and forgive him." Audrey cried as the woman turned to leave. She jumped up from her chair. "I have to go. I have to find Brady and tell him I'm sorry." Audrey jumped into her car and drove to Brady's house. She hoped he would be there, but when she arrived, she saw that his driveway was empty. Realizing that it was a weekday, she decided he was probably at work. That's where she headed. When she pulled up, she saw Brady walking across the parking lot. There were 2 buildings on the same property, with a driveway between them. As the car approached Brady, Audrey saw a man come out of the alley and raise his arm toward Brady. There was a loud gunshot, and she saw Brady grab his chest. After that, everything seemed to slow down. She watched as the man she loved fell to the ground. Brady rolled onto his side, raised his hand, and there was another loud gunshot. This time, the man from the alley fell to the ground, dropping the gun from his hand. Audrey slammed on the brakes, jumped out of the car, and rushed to Brady. He was trying to sit up when she came up behind him and hugged him. "Don't die, Brady Ryan. I'll never forgive you," she sobbed hysterically. Brady turned his head to see who was holding him. "Audrey?" "Hang on, honey, I'll call an ambulance," she shouted. At that moment, the parking lot filled with sirens as police cars pulled up. Brady kept trying to get up, but Audrey pressed herself against his back, holding him down. A police officer ran up to them. "Are you okay?" the officer asked Brady. "Better than that guy. I believe he's the one you were looking for." "Yeah, looks like it. Are you hurt?" "Yeah. The bullet hit my vest. It hurts like hell, but I'll be fine." Audrey looked questioningly at Brady. She ran over to him and saw the bullet hole in his shirt. Grabbing his chest, she tore open his shirt and saw the bulletproof vest. "You're not going to die, are you?" she pleaded. "Someday, but not today." He smiled and groaned as he got to his feet. Brady unzipped the vest and took it off, revealing an ugly bruise that had already formed. The vest had done its job and stopped the bullet, but the impact was still very strong. Audrey began to lose consciousness, and Brady rushed to support her. He picked her up and carried her to his office, followed by the officer. Other police officers who had arrived at the scene were examining the crime scene. Audrey came to just as Brady managed to get her to her feet, and she hugged him around the neck, unwilling to let go. He simply sat down on a chair and held her while she cried on his shoulder. When he finally calmed her down enough that she could sit down on a chair, he explained to her that the man who had tried to kill him was the brother of another man he had killed at a millionaire's party. The police were afraid he would try to get revenge, but they had lost track of him. It took another 20 minutes to convince her that it was over. Audrey refused to go home that night. She wouldn't let Brady leave her side. He took her to his place and put her to bed. "Baby, I'm sorry I missed your performance." Audrey put her finger to his lips. "No, honey. I'm the one who's sorry. I'll never be angry with you again. The important thing is that you're with me and you're alive. I love you so much." "Do you love me enough to marry me?" Audrey squealed with delight. "Yes, yes, yes. 1,000 times yes," she exclaimed. "And you'll never be mad at me again?" Audrey giggled. "Well, I'll try. If I can teach you not to leave the toilet seat up and not throw your dirty socks on the floor, that would help." Brady shook with laughter and pulled her close. "I love you, Mrs. Ryan." "And I love you, Mr. Ryan,"